Welcome everybody. My name is Łukasz and I work at IPOR Labs as a head of product. This live demo will go over a couple of things related to liquidity provisioning in IPOR Protocol. Sorry. As you probably know, IPOR Protocol will be launching on Ethereum Mainnet soon, and this is an opportunity for us to toy around with it. So when it does, everybody is ready to interact with it. As we go in the presentation, feel free to ask questions, whether in Zoom or in YouTube, and we'll try to go over those questions at the end. All right, let's dive right in. We will go over following topics. First, foremost, how to provide liquidity. Second, how is liquidity used in IPO protocol? We'll also speak about limitations of the mainnet related to guarded launch, and we talk about what those are. And we're also gonna speak a little bit about how to read charts and just make a decision, educated decision on the protocol. And before we start, a word of introduction for those that are new to IPOR. IPOR protocol consists of a couple of elements. The first one is IPOR index, and you can think about it as a transparent real-time version of LIBOR. In other words, an interest rate that reflects the cost of money on Ethereum blockchain. The second is the set of smart contracts that allow traders to take interest rate swaps and provide liquidity to make the interest rate swap market possible. IPOR protocol allows up to 1,000 times leverage, making it extremely capital efficient. If that piques your interest, check out our documentation. It explains in fairly digestible format the interest rate swaps. The link are in the description of this stream. Today we'll be using Gurley. Let me switch my video. We'll be using Gurley, and it's going to be pretty much the same as a mainnet with a couple little changes. Namely, there will be no faucet and no liquidations tab. So work with pools and swaps. So let's go ahead and do the liquidity provisioning. So we are in Gurley, which uses fake, USDT, and DAI. In mainnet, obviously, you will interact with real stable coins. But before we start, let's go and get some stable coins. So go to Faucet and click the Receive Stables. For this, you need Gurley ETH. If you don't have it, there is a link. It will take you straight to Gurley Faucet, and you can get your ETH there. I will just click Receive Stables, sign it with MetaMask. Okay, and our stables are on the way. Now, the stables should arrive soon, so let's go to the Pools tab. And this is the main screen for liquidity providers. Okay, now we have 10,000 USDT, and we can click on deposit, which opens a dedicated pop-up with or model menu for the liquidity provisioning. Please be aware that at launch, the amount that you can provide on the mainnet is limited to 50,000 stable. So 50,000 USDT, 50,000 USDC or DAI. And the total amount of liquidity that the liquidity pool will be able to accept is 3 million per pool. So going back to the limit, so your limit is 50,000, and that limit works in a way that it doesn't get restored. So, for example, if you provided 10,000 stable, you will still have 40,000 40,000 stable left. If you withdraw initial 10,000, you will still have 40,000 limit left. Once you provide 50,000 in total, you have no more limit, and you will receive a validation message. It will be right here. So yeah, Those limits will eventually be removed. We start with those in the beginning, and as we go, we'll increase them and eventually remove. Okay, so let's start. Let's provide maybe 5,000. So when you type your amount that you want to provide, you will see how many IP tokens you get. IP tokens are ERC20 tokens that represent your part in the pool. Okay, so first we need to approve the ERC20 transfer. So we do it by clicking approve and confirming that in MetaMask. So the minute the transaction will be approved, we'll click on deposit. And as you know, those things can take time on Ethereum. It's not instantaneous, so be patient when you work with it. We really try to do everything as possible to make this very, very quick, but it is Ethereum. Okay, so the transaction is clearing now, and we can deposit. Sign it with MetaMask, and the transaction is on the way. At this point, the smart contract will take my stablecoin and it will issue me, in this case, USDT. I can switch between currencies. So right now I'm in USDT context. So it will issue me IPUSDT. And if I don't see it in my MetaMask, in my assets, right, I don't see it, there's this little handy button, and I can click it, and it will add that token to my MetaMask. Those tokens that I received, the IP tokens, can be redeemed for the underlying asset, which in this case USDT, at any time. There is 1% charge on every withdrawal to protect against funds coming in and being transferred out at high velocity. The fee that is charged is distributed among all the users that decide to keep their funds in the pool. The interface will keep track of all your positions and combine them in one single position. So if I add another set of liquidity, it will just increase this position here. Yeah, so basically that's it. I just provided liquidity and I received IP tokens. I can transfer those tokens. They work like any other ERC20 token. Now let's go to redemption. To withdraw the stable coins from the liquidity pool, all I need to do is click withdraw and set the amount of USDT, in this case, that I'd like to withdraw. So I can maybe go with 50% and click on proceed. You will need to wait for the transaction to clear, as usual. Okay. So in the meantime, so let's talk about why is liquidity necessary in IPOR Protocol. With the mechanics out of the way, we can now speak about it. When traders enter interest rate swaps, there is a need for two sides to the transaction. This is why some interest rate swap platforms struggle to bootstrap such markets. There is always a need for both participants, the swap issuer and the taker of the swap. In the case of IPOR Protocol, the liquidity pool is the counterparty to every trade, and the AMM manages the risk by setting the spread on the swap. It means that a counterparty is always available, and the risk of the spread, and the risk is spread over the whole portfolio of swaps. This is analogous to how the insurance companies operate. The process is straightforward. A trader must put, and let's show that very quick. The trader must put a deposit, and as the trader puts a deposit, equal amount of funds is blocked on the liquidity pool side. The deposit is used to settle the derivative when it closes. If the trader makes a profit, the gain is added to his deposit and paid out. The LP budget covers the trader's profit in this situation. If the trader makes a loss, then the deposit he put forward is used to cover the losses that he made, and the yield is paid to the liquidity pool. The liquidity pool will stop underwriting swaps when the capital reserves hit 48% per leg, so pay fixed or receive fixed, or 80% of total longs and shorts combined. When the utilization is between 80 and 100%, the swaps can only be closed. Now, let me close this. And let's go back to pools and talk about, where does the liquidity pool earns and where the APY comes from. And there's a couple of sources of income. First one is the P&L. So when the liquidity pool makes a profit on swaps, that's one of the sources of income. Well, we're talking about the whole portfolio of swaps. It's all combined. The second are the fees. So fees charged by AMM for providing the utility of taking the swaps. And the third one is providing liquidity on capital markets such as AVA and Compound. The nuance is that both liquidity from liquidity providers and traders, the deposits from traders, are used together to provide liquidity. So you may say that liquidity providers at IPOR, they provide liquidity in AVA and Compound at a slight leverage. You will be able to see the breakdown of where the APY, what the API sources are in this chart. So you'll see it broken down by fees, swaps, which is the P&L of swaps, and asset management, which is delegating the liquidity to AVA and Compound. Now let's go over the other charts. So this chart, liquidity pool TVL, essentially shows you the amount of liquidity in the liquidity pool. So probably doesn't need much explanation. What's worth mentioning is, of course, you can change the period for which you would like to review the chart. This chart here, it shows the exchange rate between the underlying token, so in this case USDT, and the IP token, so liquidity token. And it's a proxy for P&L over time. So you see how P&L was growing over time with that exchange rate of token. And well, that's pretty much it when it comes to liquidity provisioning. It is a fairly straightforward process. And I hope you found this informative and helpful. I encourage you to check our social media for more details, our Discord, Medium, Gitbook, GitHub, Twitter, and of course YouTube. I encourage you to subscribe. The links are obviously in the description. And I mean, if we are live streaming, so this is again, this is not pre-recorded. So if there is any questions, I'm happy to answer them now. So Darren, are there any questions, or Sergey? Been looking at YouTube? Okay, thank you, sir. All right. Does the yield compounds? So the yield, well, the yield, it doesn't really have like any sort of compounding mechanism. It's every time there is the swap is closed, or there is an unrealized P&L. Actually, we count that. So if the swaps kind of go in either direction, that unrealized P&L becomes part of the exchange rate. So you may say it's real time, updating in real time, like it's constantly changing. Okay, so let's have a look at other questions. Okay, security. How secured is the protocol? Okay, so this is a very good question, and I wish I could answer in a couple of words. But when it comes to security, obviously we go over the protocol. We took time. We went over audit, very thorough audit, and so, and you will be able to see the contracts and read the report of audit, for yourself. The code will be open source just before we go mainnet. Now, what we also notice is when it comes to protocol safety, it must go way beyond just the safety of smart contracts. So we go an extra mile, when it comes to security of not only our infrastructure, and we work with professional security consultants, but also our internal processes. So development team, and storing keys and things like that. So that's security. And also, last but not least, there is a security when it comes to the economical exploits, and that is something that took us probably the most time. When we were running even the previous iterations of testnet, so now this Gurley is really brand new, but we've been also working with Rinkeby, and this was our playground. Also, we experienced a lot of bots, a lot of extreme traffic. And we also run our own exploit, or our own tests to test the economic assumptions. So we really took time to make sure that we cover everything that we possibly can on both infrastructure, smart contracts, processes, and economics. Okay, so that was a question from Humphrey. Did I miss any other question? All right. Okay, seems that those are the questions I seen in YouTube. So I suppose we can wrap up here. I hope that you find it interesting. Again, I'm on Discord, so if you have any other questions that we haven't covered here, feel free to ask them in Discord and general channel, and we'll ask them right there. I'll be watching the channel, so you get the answer from the source as quickly as possible. All right. Oh, there we go. Thanks.